And lawmakers are now investigating how classified documents about Israel's planned military attack against Iran were apparently leaked. Those documents describe military drills and weapons placement and how damaging it might be. It was also revealed the documents were prepared in recent days by the U.S. Geospatial Intelligence Agency. Some officials say if no further documents come to light, the damage would be limited, while others are calling the leak very concerning. Earlier today, White House National Security Communications Advisor John Kirby spoke on how President Biden is handling this.
We're deeply concerned, and the president remains deeply concerned about any leakage of classified information into the public domain. That is not supposed to happen, and it's unacceptable when it does. So he's deeply concerned about that, and you can rest assured that he will be actively monitoring the progress of the investigative effort to figure out how this happened.
Joining me now is Senior Fellow at Defense Priorities and host of Daniel Davis Deep Dive on YouTube, Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis. Great to see you. So I think that the first and possibly most important question here, Colonel Davis, do you feel this apparent leak was done strategically, accidentally? How does something like this happen?
Well, it definitely wasn't accidental. That kind of thing can only be broached if someone prints it off of a computer and then smuggles it out of a facility and then passes it on through what other means. And I took a look at the document when it first came out, when it was first revealed, and it looks completely legit, but it's also forms that it appears that it was printed off somewhere. That may help in the eventually finding out who may have done this, because a lot of those things are typically monitored about what gets printed. So they may be able to find it that way. But I think that the damage is not going to be that significant, because it doesn't talk anything about timing. It doesn't say anything about what they're going to attack or where, only the means that they're using and what they've been doing to rehearse and to practice. And really, I mean, it's not like that's a surprise. I mean, the Israeli officials themselves are saying quite vociferously, publicly, exactly what they're going to do, and people are speculating what they're going to hit. So I don't think it'll change much of anything, but it is concerning to me anyway that there is a leak at the top secret level somewhere in our intelligence system, and that needs to get plugged.
Yeah, so what does this leak mean moving forward? I mean, not only for both Israel and Iran potentially, but also for U.S. intelligence.
Yeah, because I mean, the question is, what was the motivation of the person that passed this along? Did he want to stop something? Did he want to corroborate something? Because, unlike some of the others, like the Discord leaks or some of the other things that have been, given away over the last several years, the person had something in mind. They wanted to expose some truth or something to that effect, or to cause something to happen or stop. And it's unclear from at least this one. Now, whether this is the first of many to come, or if a one-off kind of situation, it's unclear what the intention or the motive was of the person who smuggled it out.
Well, Lieutenant Colonel, I thank you for your time. I'm going to cut this short right now, because we're going to go out to the White House press briefing. The press secretary is addressing this very thing right now. Let's listen in.
Want to see going forward?
So I'm not going to get ahead of it. As I just mentioned, the U.S. government is investigating this and through the appropriate authorities. So I'm going to let them move to their process, see exactly what happened. I'm not going to get into it from here.
And speaking of classified information, what is the president's plan for voting in the November 5th election?
So the president certainly looks forward. Oh, so serious. I'm sorry. I'm so serious today. Very funny, Darlene. Very good joke. So the president is certainly looking forward to casting his ballot in the upcoming election. When we have more to share about what that looks like, where he's going to be, we certainly will share that. Go ahead, Risha.
Karine. So we just heard from Kirby that the White House is monitoring the progress of the investigative effort to figure out how this happened, not whether this happened. But just for the sake of clarity, can you confirm that the documents in question are authentic and do in fact include U.S. classified intelligence?
Look, I appreciate the question. Like I said, we're certainly aware of the reports. We are very concerned. I'm not going to get into specifics. I'm not going to get into details. That's something for DOJ, IC, and DOD to get into it, and certainly they can hopefully answer any questions that you may have on this particular matter. But look, as the reports are out there and what we are hearing, certainly we are very concerned by them. They're being looked into. It's being investigated by the appropriate authorities, by obviously the U.S. government here, and so I'm going to let them speak to it directly.
Kirby characterized the concern as stemming from the fact that they were in the public domain. So,
Well, it's true.
As he talked
Yeah.
about it, the implication was that this was classified information. I'm just asking yes or no, was it?
Look, anytime there are leaks like these that end up in the public domain, just reiterating what he said, of course it is concerning. We have the appropriate authorities who are looking into this on our side of things, and I'm going to be really mindful. I'm not going to get into specifics. Was this, classified? Was this not classified? I can't get into that from here. That is something I see, and DOD and DOJ can get into it on those specifics. But anytime we see any type of classified information that is leaked and that is out there in the public domain, of course we are concerned, of course. But they can speak to their how authentic, how real, any of those pieces, they can speak to that. I'm not going to speak to that from here.
And then just a quick follow-up on Darlene. I know you're figuring out his election day plans, but given the potential for political unrest in the days that follow, will the president be here? Does he plan to be here in Washington in the days that follow the election?
All right, let's bring back Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis to continue our discussion on this leak of apparent classified documents here. So the press secretary not saying much, Colonel Davis, not that we necessarily expected that she would, but do you think we'll find out who's behind this leak?
Well, I could assure you they're going to do everything they can to find out who's behind it, because especially on something that's they have this called TSSCI, top secret compartmented information. So they narrow the band of people who are authorized to see any particular kind of information. And in a case like this, it's not exactly a needle in a haystack, but it's a lot more narrow to try to find out, all right, who had access to this particular report, and then they can start going from there to find out who it was and who had access, whatever, and then see if they can find out, did someone print that off, et cetera. So there are some ways that they can go after it. But I did see, by the way, earlier today in the New York Times that they claimed anyway that senior officials from the DOD did confirm that it was a genuine, legitimate document.
All right, and Lieutenant Colonel, what do you think happens next? Is Israel still likely to strike, to retaliate in some way against Iran?
Well, based on what the Israeli officials continue to say, and former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett over the weekend, they are emphatic that they are going to strike and going to strike hard. And even based on the information in that presumed classified documentation, it gave the impression that there had been a completion of a training period, like that they're basically ready to go now. And then it's just going to be a matter of what happens next. But by all accounts, and Israel has almost painted themselves into a box where they have to do something because of these big statements that they've made. And if they don't take action now, it would probably undercut their credibility, et cetera. And I just can't imagine them doing that. So I think that something's coming pretty soon.
Well, Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, always appreciate your insight. Thank you for sticking around with us, too, during that briefing.